Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.
The death of Edvard's parents when he was 3 has been a mystery, but Edvard knows his grandfather Sverre's brother, Einar, is somehow connected. Edvard is driven to unravel the mystery of his parents' death in France near the Somme River. To discuss the 16 Trees of the Somme by Lars Mytting, let's meet my guest Kathy Freese. Welcome, Kathy.
Well,
good to have you.
Thank you. Yes, well, nice to be back.
It's good to have you because you were the first person that figured out all the themes in this book. It's so packed, isn't it?
Lots of mystery, but I absolutely loved this book. It's one of the best books I've read in a long time.
There you go. That is an absolute backup for this book.
Yeah.
Well, there are so many themes, but let's talk first about some of the Norwegian and Shetland Island food we're going to make. What are you going to be doing?
Well, first I'm going to try lefse. I've never made it before, but it's a Norwegian flatbread, similar to a lot of other flatbreads from different countries, and they eat it with cinnamon and butter. They eat it with cheese. They do all sorts of things with it. It's kind of a jack of all trades.
But you can buy it.
You can buy it. I was only able to get it online, or I can go up in Minnesota and get it.
Well, it is nice to know because some people just don't cook and they like to know where can I find something like this. Well, and I'm going to, did you mention your other one?
Oh, then I'm going to do a Norwegian dessert called riskrem, which they especially eat at Christmas.
Oh. And ris is rice, so
yes.
we know what
yes.
we're getting into here.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to make Mary's simple Shetland fish stew. It's simple, but there's a lot going on here. I had to chop up a lot of things. And we're going to have an arrangement of different fish, some salmon, some cod, and what was the other one? Ooh, tilapia. And I'm going to chop them up. But first we're going to melt some butter and some olive oil. We're not melting it, but heating it. And then we'll add a lot of ingredients and a lot of finely chopped carrots and onion and leek. You get the picture. And then we put the fish in, the 3 different kinds that I will chop up. So let's get started here.
Yeah, and I'm going to start and make the batter for the lefse, which is basically leftover mashed potatoes mixed with flour, and then you fry it and roll it, and then fry it. But anyway, we'll see if it works or not.
well, I think it's good to try this. I've always thought, how do people have leftover mashed potatoes?
Yeah.
Because my kids always liked it. My husband likes mashed potatoes, and they just wouldn't let anything walk away from the table. And so, but this is a dessert. No, the other one.
No, riskrem is the
yes, right.
dessert. This
Come
is,
on,
you
Gail.
can eat lefse for breakfast, lunch, dinner,
right.
whatever.
And it looks a little bit like in the package, if you buy it, a little bit like a naan, which, you know, the Indian.
It's not as thick as a naan. It's a very thin.
Thin.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this book, to me, I had to read it several times. I did get confused because we start in Norway. We meet our main man,
Edvard.
Edvard, who has lost his parents. They were killed.
Yeah, they drown.
They drowned.
And in fact, the Norwegian name for this book is Swim with Those Who Drowned.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And Mytting they couldn't figure out a way to make that sound right in English, so that's why it's a 16 tree. The interesting thing about this book is there are so many mysteries.
Yes.
It's hard to figure out what's going on sometimes, but it's beautifully written.
You've got some passages you pulled out that are
Oh.
really very nicely done, and the translator did a
The
good job
translator did an excellent
because it was
job.
written in
and
Norwegian.
that they put a lot of Norwegian in it. Like here, there was a hole in each of us, and we searched for the hole in our self-righteousness because that was the common thread that held the village together.
Self-righteousness.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and there's a theme of loneliness in this. No, he never left but his grandfather raised him, and his grandfather
Yeah.
fought for the Nazis in World War II.
And his other uncle, who was the brother,
Was in the resistance in France, and they never could reconcile.
Yes.
The two of them could never reconcile. And
and the neighbors and people in the village kind of remembered that. In
Yes.
fact, there's a swastika painted on Sverre's car.
yes,
Well,
and this is like 1992. They're still
Yeah.
remembering, and that's another theme in here. And I think that's why they stayed on the farm, because they were never kind of accepted
Yes,
in the
yes.
village.
But the family was close. They're kind of, tight knit. They don't talk much, but when they do, they get things done. And so we start out that way. And then I can't remember who tells Edvard that his parents had disappeared when they all went to France.
The grandfather never explained that whole thing, and Edvard is always wondering what
Why?
really
What
happened.
really
What happened?
happened?
And that sets the whole thing off, because then the grandfather dies, and I'm not telling anything out of.
No, because we've got to move the action.
Yeah.
I know, but you've got all these old uncles and grandpas, and he decides he wants to go. When I say he, I've talked about three people. The young man who is the
Edvard.
potato, he wants to go to France, to where the Somme River is. That was one of the bloodiest battles in World War I.
This was really interesting to find out about the Somme. I mean, I heard, I knew about it, but yeah.
I haven't been there, but I would like to do a trip like that. I'm not particularly into battlefields because I think it's so tragic, but I am going to start this soup, and I just didn't want to.
Now, what I did, I put flour with the mashed potatoes, and then I rolled it into a ball
Yes.
like this. Now I'm going to flatten it a little, put it here, and then I'm going to try to, roll it out. I'm going to turn this down.
Right, because that heats so fast. And while you're doing that, I've chopped finely red pepper, a leek, celery. I have some onion, and we're going to cook that. That's kind of the base of this. Add about a pint of, I couldn't find fish stock, but we're going to have some vegetable broth. Then I will add the fish. I will add all these herbs. We will let it cook and let it cook. And this would be, it's not every meal or every second meal, but it is a special meal in Norway. So you are now rolling.
And it's supposed to be real pretty and in a nice circle, but can't
we
do
don't
it.
know that.
You don't know that.
We
so
don't
we're gonna
know it's
try
supposed to be in a
this.
circle. Right. So this says I add
Luckily, I
everything.
bought some in case this doesn't turn out.
Let's see, I've got the garlic, a little bit of garlic in here. It's supposed to be 3 cloves. And we'll add salt and pepper. Let this
so
cook.
Edvard, anyway, his grandfather dies. So he decides he's going to go and
To the Somme.
first he's going to find the uncle.
Oh, the other one, the
So
one that's
he-
a craftsman.
Yes, so he goes to the one who was in the resistance. so he goes to the Shetland Islands where he finds out the uncle was. And the description of the Shetland Islands in the book are really good. And
It's pretty bleak, though,
it's
isn't it?
very bleak.
Yes. No, very, very few trees, but it's windswept, and a lot happened there. And then Norway lost the Shetland Islands, and now it belongs to,
England.
Scotland.
Well, Scotland.
Yeah.
Britain.
well, we'll let Scotland be the owner, right?
Yeah.
So
Scotland, yeah.
that's why we're there in this part of the world. And he does go there, and he meets.
He meets Gwen. Ooh, it did.
Did
It
all
turned
right.
out.
Yeah. Do you want a plate for that?
I'll get a plate.
Oh, yeah, it's right back there. He meets Gwen, and Gwen is a character. She is to the
I didn't like her.
manner born. No, she's
Yeah.
not dependable in the sense of the
She
truth
lies.
and yes. And I'm trying to figure out if they're related. She and
No.
no, okay.
No.
And she has a father that fought in World War.
Grandfather.
in
who
World
fought
War
World
One.
War One.
He had-
in the Somme.
He
He was
lost
part of the
his arm?
Scottish Black Watch. There's a lot of history about
In this
book.
book, yes.
You learn a lot, but
Okay.
it's so beautifully written.
It is, and I have to say, I watched the oh. Well, this is a first.
This is a
And
first.
I think I can help you here. This is a little wider. Well,
yeah. Well,
see, this is the way
this
life
is-
is.
yeah.
And look, we just keep on going.
I'm gonna eat
And
my finger.
so I'm going to
there.
continue with my cooking. You're going to find some utensils. We're going to be right back, and in the meantime, we want to give you the menu, and then we'll come back and talk more about places and the people. We'll be right back. We're back. We have our cooking utensils.
Yes. Had to get a new one.
Reestablished, and you're going to be whisking away here.
Well, I'm going to whip some cream for the Reese cream. Reese
Reese
creme.
creme.
So now I'm going to make some noise, and hopefully this will go real fast and not
Yes.
spread over everything.
Well, we love whipping cream, and I'm going to put in some lemon juice. And what else here? We put in some red hot peppers, tarragon, fennel seed, all these wonderful things. Oh, and you've got your yes, that makes it thicker, doesn't it?
Yes, and I had everything in the refrigerator because supposedly whipping cream whips faster if you have everything cold.
Yes.
So this is almost ready. And this is what
Almost ready.
makes it so good.
I am putting in some, what is this? Vegetable broth, because this is soup. So we need some broth here. We need a base, a pint. Then I have a glass, here's a measure, a glass of white wine, dry white wine. And our soup is coming along. We're going to heat it up a little higher. You got your whipping cream there?
Nah, it's not quite ready.
A little bit more.
A little bit more, and that'll be it.
All right. Now, I'm going to add a little touch of fish sauce, just a little bit. And I happen to have Thai fish sauce.
That's enough.
And we will add that. Now here goes the fish in here.
Yeah, that's good enough.
And we will let this heat up. And ladies and gentlemen, this is our fish stew. And I think I could serve big bowls of it, or maybe 6 to 8 small bowls of it. We could even have a fish course. We could have a meat course. But I think this is very, very nice. Oh, look at that. Wait, now what did you just put in there?
I just put in the rice groot,
Oh,
which
good.
is basically rice porridge. And I'm going to...
Here we go again.
But I've got it on low, so
this
you
is
can talk.
kitchen music.
Yeah.
So we're going to let this cook. And at the very end, I will add some dill. And, oh, here's the last piece of fish. We're going to cover this, keep our eye on it. And then at the very end, I'll add some dill. And this is really, ooh, this is going to be so good.
The interesting thing about this book is a lot, wood takes
yeah, it's the focus.
a focus, yes. And the 16 trees of the Somme are the 16 walnut trees that survived the Battle of the Somme. And they're a special walnut that people want to use as gun stock.
Oh, gun stock. Oh, by the way, yes, we go into a gun shop and we see how English dress and how they address the wood of the guns.
And how they make a gun. That was really fascinating.
I found it very
And this
good.
wood is because the Germans used terrible mustard gas and all sorts of different chemicals
Yeah.
in the woods. Everything died, including most of the troops.
Yeah,
And
it's awful.
but the wood is extremely expensive, and
Walnut is expensive.
walnut, and then this particular walnut is. But that's the whole thing behind the book,
Yes.
is
Are they-
finding the wood, because somebody did cut a lot of it down, and where did it go?
Where did it go? Did we ever find out? We can't say.
We
can
can't say, because that's the mystery
giving away.
in the book.
Yes. Where did this wood go that was growing by the Somme River, where all these men were killed?
The largest number of people killed in any battle.
Was at
the
this
Somme.
area. And so
That was
Edvard
terrible.
is there. He's the little boy that disappeared. He is saved. We don't tell you who saves him. But Gwen, this so-called friend, they drift apart and they get back together again. But I didn't really care for her, but she
No,
did.
I didn't like
she
her
did
either.
enliven the story, because this is all pretty
She brought Edvard out of his lonely
Norwegian
the
mountain background, and yeah, she gets him going, and he starts to react, and he gets mad at her, and then he loves her, and it changes completely. But we never
But
trust
he's still trying to find out what really happened to his parents. And as a 3-year-old child, he disappeared for 4 days, and nobody knew where he was
her if he was alive.
alive. And because they find the parents, but not him. And it's
That part
a mystery.
is very mysterious. It all does work out. We want you to read it, so we aren't going to tell you. And the details are amazing. And these little asides that he talks about,
Yeah.
you know. There was one other one, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, he talks about his descriptions when he said suddenly the storm comes up in the Shetland Islands, and he says it's like somebody put wax paper over the sun.
Yes.
Just all these.
Oh yeah, you see the wrinkled paper, and it's the rain. Just, it's wonderful and not hackneyed.
No.
Absolutely original.
And then he talks about the Circassian grade walnut,
Yes.
and that it's named after the Circassian women, known to be the most beautiful women in the world.
Well, of course.
yeah.
They're always the most beautiful women someplace, right? They
Yeah.
talk about it in every book. So, and let's see, where's the lid of this? Well, we won't worry about that now. So, you know, we're doing this kind of quickly, makes it sound like it's very simple, but it's got depth to it. It's rich. We are on the island that's called Half
Grooney.
Grooney, and we even have a wonderful map in this book that shows us where we're going in these islands. And Half Grooney is where the big house is that these wealthy people had lived in, and where everything took place on the Shetland Islands in their family. So in the meantime, his potatoes are starting to grow. He's getting worried about them. He's worried about his sheep back in the farm, and so we've got that going on. And
But he does say at the end that he was afraid of being a lonely, emotionally stunted person, and this whole thing that happened, this which was over only like a 6-month period at the time of the book when Edward is looking for the answers to what happened to his parents, he realizes he has come out of his shell.
Yes. Part of it is this traveling, this woman that kind of enraged him, but he kind of fell for her. So his senses have been shaken up, and it was good for him. It was very good for him. And we aren't going to say what happened to this person or that person. Yeah. He does get back to the farm eventually. The sheep are still alive. The potatoes have been picked by
And there's a whole section, too, on the woods at the farm, the birch trees, the flame birch trees.
Yes.
And yet there's so much history of Norway and
Shetland Islands.
World War I, World War II, the French. We didn't even talk about the French resistance and what happened around the Somme during World War II with the Nazis and the resistance. And,
yes.
And
it's full. It's very enriching, and it makes you see how, through the time, how some of these people intermarried with people from other countries, and they also didn't talk much because it didn't help you to give out too much information during those war years. So many Europeans are reticent about talking to you and sharing their ideas and this sort of thing. It still lingers.
Yes, and the how can I say it, like the sins of the fathers and the grandfathers live on.
Yes.
And how they affect
the children,
the grandchildren. Yeah. Wow. Ooh, that fish stew looks really good. Now, what are you putting in there now? Is that dill?
Dill, dried dill. Oh. You bet. Now, everybody's got a little different way of doing this, and I squeezed a half a lemon in there, too. We're going to let it cook. You're all set, aren't you?
Yes.
Everything is completed.
And then I'll put some raspberries on top of this wrist cream, and it's a dessert. We'll have to try it.
It's wonderful. So we are going to take a little short break. We're going to come back and review our food and kind of add some more great insights. And, and then, so take a look. Now we're going to show you the list of books written by this young writer from Norway. We'll be right back. I liked this book.
I loved this book.
You loved it. I think if I read it one more time, I would love it.
The writing is just gorgeous. You know,
it is.
Thought about this book, thought about writing it when he was 14 years old.
14, and he's in his 50s now. It took a long time, but he got it together. Let's just have a quick review of our food. Your wonderful
lefse, which you can eat anything with anything. It's like
any
an all-purpose
time of day.
Flatbread that every country has a flatbread, you know.
And you can buy it or send off for it?
Yeah, and it's made out of potatoes,
potato bread. And then this
there's a rice creme, which is a dessert, but it's basically rice pudding with whipped cream, so who wouldn't like a bunch of whipped cream?
It really is good. I tasted it, and I said, this is unique. And then, of course, we have the fish stew, and there are 3 different kinds of fish in that, and lots of herbs and spices and veggies. And
it smells wonderful.
It really does, and I've got a whole pot of it here. I wanted to mention that my favorite part of the book, it's not even a literary thing, it's not even, intellectual. I liked the way Gwen was trying to make our man Edvar into a British man coming in to a gun shop, and how you wear your clothes, and you wear the best Egyptian cotton shirts.
Yes, and it has to look like it's been worn a while, not brand new.
Right, and the shoes, if they have some scuffs, that's okay because you've used them. But don't come in there sloppy in dirty tennis shoes, and don't come in with a real shiny jacket. Just look like you know what you're doing. And she actually said, the people with the money are the ones that make the decisions.
And see what I liked the way he wove in all the histories from World War I all the way through to the mid-90s and the different countries and everything. I just thought the writing was fabulous, the descriptions, everything.
It was, and my one suggestion is if you're going to read this book, read it until you finish it. If you're going to take 3 days, don't try to do 10 things and read it because it is detailed and there's so much going on.
You really have to concentrate.
Concentrate and you will thoroughly enjoy it. So I have to say the food is good, the book is good, and we hope you'll join us again. I just want to say that remember, good food, good friends, good books make for a very, very good life. Thank you, Kathy.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Well, thank you for straightening me out on the themes here. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.